W Berhad. W Berhad was founded in 1910 and has grown to become the largest conglomerate in Malaysia and also a leading trading company with a strong partnership with premium brand. More than 139 operating companies in 18 countries under its umbrella. W Berhad assists numerous key business which is W Plantation, W Industrial, W Motor, W Property, W Energy and Utilities, and last but not least, Ramsay W Healthcare or RSDH. W Plantation is one of the most valuable firm on Bursa Malaysia by having a market value of 14.83 billion ringgit Malaysia at the end of the second fiscal quarter of 2021. The next one is W Industrial, which is the Malaysian largest distributor of premier heavy equipment, having a key customer in forestry, construction and power generation industry. It has over 100 branches including Australia, China and Singapore. The third one is W Motor, where importation, assembly, distribution and retailing of vehicles are among its commercial operation from different nations and brands such as BMW, Jaguar, Land Rover and Ford. The fourth one is W Property, which is the developer of the renowned Battersea Power Station project in London. It also shows W has the largest land bank in Malaysia. The fifth one is the W Energy and Utilities that specialize in engineering service, water management, port and logistics. The last one is Ramsay W Healthcare, or known as RSHG, which is one of the pioneer healthcare education in Malaysia. Now, we go to the management approach. So here, let's see what are the factors to consider having a segment reporting. Segment reporting is the reporting of the operating segment of an organization in the disclosure accompanying its financial statement. So, when we study about W Berhad, we found there are three factors of an organization to have a segment reporting, which is the first factor is the nature of the business activity, where it is identified by any activity carried out by an entity with the main objective of profit maximization. As we can see in the column, these are the nature and product of W Berhad. The second factor is the existence of manager responsible for the activities. Each segment is controlled by the segment manager, who is responsible for ensuring the performance of the segment and making a direct contact with the chief operating decision maker. The last factor is the information presented to the board of directors. The chief operating decision maker shall refer to the report assessed by the board of directors, since it contains a reliable information regarding the overall performance of the entity.
W Berhad has two types of operating segment, which consist of business segment and geographical segment. Business segment is distinguishable component of an entity engaged in providing products or services. The primary business that is conducted under W Berhad is a W Plantation. W Plantation is regarded as the world's largest. It is one of the most valuable firms on Bursa Malaysia, having a market value of 14.83 billion at the end of the second fiscal quarter of 2021. Next is the geographical segment. Geographical segment is a distinguishable component of an entity that is engaged in providing products or services within a particular economic environment. W Berhad has divided the geographical segment into geographical areas and regional presence in 80 countries and territories, which includes Malaysia, China, Hong Kong, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia and Brunei. This is the figure of geographical areas and regional presence in 80 countries. The Chief of Decision Making and its responsibility. The Chief of Decision Making, CODM, usually consists of either the Chief Executive Officer or the Chief Operating Officer or the Senior Management Team or the Board of Directors. As for W Berhad, Datuk Jeffrey Salim Davidson is the CODM of the company. He is responsible for reviewing the internal management reports on a monthly basis and conducts performance dialogues with the business units on a regular basis. According to FAR570 of operating segment, the decision making by Chief Operating Decision Maker (CODM) is essential because they are responsible for allocating resources of the entity and assess the performance of the operating segment of an organization. A component of the entity that is regularly reviewed by the CODM is likely to be identified as the operating segment. CODM will review information about the operating results of individual business units and group of business units. Therefore, it might be difficult for CODM to establish which set of information will be used to make decisions about resources to be allocated and to assess performance of the operating segment. The Board of Directors Samdaibi Berhad, Tan Sri Samsudin Osman, a non-independent non-executive chairman, Tan Sri Ahmad Bari Muhammad Zahir, non-independent non-executive director, Datuk Wan Selamah Wan Sulaiman, independent non-executive director, Datuk Sri Abdul Hamidi Abdul Hafiz, independent non-executive director, Datuk Ahmad Pardas Senin, senior independent non-executive director, Tayaparan Sanggara Pila, independent non-executive director, Datuk Lawrence Lee Cheo Hock, non-independent non-executive director, Moy Pui Yi, independent non-executive director, Muhammad Idros Mohsin, non-independent non-executive director, and lastly, Datuk Dr. Nimala Menon, independent non-executive director.
Moving on to the next part, the process of identifying the reportable segments and non-reportable segments according to MFRS 8 operating segment requirement. An entity should report its information separately in regards to operating segments only if it passed the quantitative threshold test of 10% rule and 75% rule. To identify the qualification of reportable operating segment, the quantitative 10% threshold test is made. The test comprises of revenue, results of profits, and assets. If it is more than 10%, it should be separately presented as reportable segments. On the other hand, if it's lower than 10%, it should be aggregated with operating segments that do not meet the 10% rule. Those operating segments will be presented as other segments. For Syaffiya Berhad, we use the revenue test as the company used revenue basis to measure its total reported revenue from sales of external customers and inter-segment sales. Based on this calculation, the formula of 10% rule is the revenue from each segment divided with the total revenue from all segments and multiply with 100. So, this is the calculation for the 10% rule. And from the result, there are 4 segments that are reportable in the annual report, which are industrial, motors, logistics, and plantation. Meanwhile, the healthcare and others will be considered as non-reportable segments, and it will be presented as other segments.
For 75% threshold test, after determining the reportable segments, the total external revenue attributable to those reportable segments will be calculated at least 75% of total revenue. The formula to calculate 75% threshold is external revenue from reportable segment per total revenue. The working is like this, which is we get 99.86%. The test resulted in more than 85%. Therefore, the existence reportable segments which are industrial, motors, logistics, and plantation will consider as reportable segments and no need to identify the additional segment in order to achieve 75% threshold test.
This is the new segment to report. From the 10% threshold test and 75 threshold test, there will be 4 new reportable segments in the annual report that comprises industrials, motors, logistics, and plantation of 23%, 41%, 14%, and 19% respectively. The healthcare and others will be reported as other segments.
Next conclusion. The companies use segment reporting to track the performance of various parts of their operations. National and international accounting standards compel some businesses to comply. Others do it on their own to show which segments are meeting or exceeding expectations. The advantages and disadvantages of information depend on how it is used. Transparency is a major advantage of segment reporting. Segment reporting can reveal which areas are profitable and which are drains on the bottom line for businesses that operate in different categories or geographic areas. If segment reporting reveals that a company's overseas operations are more profitable than its domestic operations, it may prompt a strategic shift. When done correctly, it prevents executives from cancelling unprofitable ventures. Segment reporting also enables stakeholders to gain a better understanding of any fluctuations that may affect overall figures. If a company's earnings are significantly higher than expected, segment reporting can reveal where those profits are coming from. A stakeholder can examine the same report to see if the figures are reliable. Is intended to aid investors in gaining a better understanding of the company and its potential cash flow. On the other hand, the segmental report may be exposed to data manipulation because the information is reported through the management's eye. This offers the company more flexibility to make decisions on how segments are built and components to be included in the report. The managers may also choose the right components to be communicated to the right people. For instance, to create a better image and performance for the company, the management may conceal losses in any business segment to be grouped with an unrelated business profit to hide the bad performance of the business. Lastly, managers might misuse the authority given by the company and neglect their responsibilities to make a true and fair view report. The false or incomplete report will affect the company's reputation in the public's eye. As a result, the users of the statements such as investors, creditors, and customers might lose their interest and trust towards the company. Furthermore, the situation will affect the company's profitability or sustainability.
Now, let's proceed to accounting policies used in preparing the interim report. For property, plant and equipment, the policies used is measured at its cost model, which is cost less accumulated depreciation and accumulated impairment losses as stated in MFRS 116, property, plant and equipment. While the
As for Syaffiya Berhad, they have prepared an unaudited condensed consolidated statement of profit or loss, an audited condensed consolidated statement of comprehensive income, an audited condensed consolidated statement of financial position, an audited condensed consolidated statement of changes in equity, and unaudited condensed consolidated statement of cash flows in their interim financial report. As a public listed company, Bursa Malaysia has encouraged them to prepare and publish interim financial reporting on the quarterly basis. Syaffiya Berhad has prepared a condensed financial report for their company, and the interim financial report has been prepared quarterly starting 1st July 2019. The interim report consists of 3 months and will be prepared up to the 4th quarter, which will end similarly with the closing date of the financial reporting 30 June 2021. Next, the content that should be prepared in the interim report is including: first, all of each headings and subtotal that was included in its most recent annual financial statements. Second, the selected explanatory notes required by the MFRS 134 interim financial reporting that focus on the significant changes in the financial position since last reporting date. Third, the basic and diluted earnings per shares on the face of the statement if the entity presents the item of profit or loss in a separate statement. And lastly, the report should also be prepared on a consolidated basis if the most recent annual financial statements was a consolidated statement.
The period for the current and comparative of each statement prepared by the company. Syaffiya Berhad's accounting period will end on 30th June of each year. The current and comparative period of each statement prepared by the company, according to FAR570 interim reporting, will be measured from 1st April 2021 to 30th June 2021, that is equivalent to the 4th interim quarter of Syaffiya Berhad in 2021. For statement of financial position, the current interim reporting is 3 months from 1st April 2021 until 30th June 2021. At the comparative of the immediate preceding financial year, reporting period is 12 months starting from 1st July 2020 until 30th June of 2021. For statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the current interim reporting period is 3 months starting from 1st April 2021 until 30th June 2021. Its comparative current interim reporting period is 3 months from 1st April 2020 until 30th June 2020. The cumulative of immediate financial year reporting period is 12 months starting from 1st July 2020 until 30th June 2021, and its comparative is also 12 months starting from 1st July 2019 until 30th June 2020. For statement of changes in equity and statement of cash flow will have the same reporting period and reporting date. The cumulative reporting period is 12 months starting from 1st July 2020 until 30th June 2021, and its comparative is 12 months from 1st July 2019 and 30th June 2020. The first adjustment is about depreciation. On 1st July 2020, Syaffiya Berhad's plant and machinery is costing to 6.225 million ringgit with its accumulated depreciation of 3.429 million ringgit. The company depreciates all of its plant and machinery on a straight line basis at 20% per annum on a yearly basis and none in the year of disposal. On 1st September 2020, the company decided to dispose one of its machines with a carrying amount of 400,000 ringgit for a profit of 50,000 ringgit. The machine was initially purchased at a cost of 450,000 ringgit. On 31st March 2021, the company acquired a new machine at a cost of 600,000 ringgit. And this is the calculation for the disposal and acquisition of the plant and machinery. So, the carrying amount as at 31st March 2021 is 2,139,750 ringgit.
Let's move to the second adjustment, which is inventories. On 1st July 2020, Syaffiya Berhad had an ending inventory of 300 million ringgit Malaysia, and every year the price will change. On 31st March 2021, the company had inventory of 150 million units at 1 ringgit and 50 cents per unit. At 31st March 2021, the net realizable value of the inventories is 1 ringgit and 35 cents per unit, but the expected net realizable value of the inventories at 30 June 2021 is 1 ringgit and 75 cents. Therefore, on 31st March 2021, the inventory should be recognized at the net realizable value since it's lower compared to the cost amounting to 202,500,000 ringgit Malaysia. The loss of RM 22,500,000 should be recognized in statement of profit or loss.
For current interim,
June
plant and
2021,
machinery,
the value of inventory will be recognized by using the cost of
6,375
225 million
minus
ringgit
accumulated
Malaysia,
depreciation
where Syaffiya
for
Berhad should reverse the
235.25
22,500,000
and the carrying
inventory
amount of
loss
plant and machinery
that was
is
recognized in the previous segment of profit or loss.
139.75 million, and the current asset for the inventory is 202,500 million.